Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to Today in Bitcoin. Today is January 13th, 2017. Well, I'd like to thank all of my guests who have been on the last few shows. It has just been a blast. I know you viewers have enjoyed them. And it's a different feel to the show. We'll be going back and forth between guests and shows like this one. It was time I gave everyone an update, though, because there's always Bitcoin news. There's always commentary out there. I have to give my opinions, I guess. And people like to hear my opinions and thoughts, so let's do it right now. So up until, I guess, a few hours ago, the BTCE price was above the Huobi price, the Chinese exchange. But now China is back ahead of BTCE, which is going back to the normal that we were used to. So we're around $830. And the last few days, I had been waiting for the Coinbase price because I buy my Bitcoin on Coinbase. I was waiting for it to get to $760, and it never got to 760. I was going to buy, like I told everyone, I was going to buy at 760. And on Coinbase, at least, it never got down there. And then I kind of felt like, oh man, I missed out. Now it's back at in the 800s. I don't know. I have Bitcoin already. Maybe I will regret that I didn't get X more in January of 2017. But again, don't get too emotional about the price. I know some people can get down. First of all, don't panic and sell. You should look for buying opportunities. I have my thoughts about not buying. That's a lot different than me saying, oh man, I wish, why did I sell? That's a lot. That's bad. Why did I sell? So don't get into that. But don't panic. Don't get too emotional about the price. And hey, I know it's very psychological. You see it going into the 700s again. You're like, wait a second, we're just at 1100. Don't let it get to you. I mean, I know that it's good to have a high price for everyone involved. The excitement level goes up. You notice in the comment section and everything. Just remember, in 2020, it is going to be at least $1,000. Yes, I know. I'm still saying that same old line. But it's something just to keep your head straight that, what's wrong with buying it at $800? If it's going to be $1,000 in the future, that means I'm going to do well. We're only at the beginning here. And if you keep that, I mean, you can set your goal for whatever. Say, I know in 2020 it's going to be $2,000. If you believe that, then now's a great buying opportunity. Just think, this is just a bump in the road. Just keep on remembering. There'll be ups and downs. I guarantee you, it's going to be turbulent. There'll be days of 10% drops, 20%, the insane drops, because the market is thin. People overvalue certain rumors, and we're going to get into that in a second. So, like I said in the video with Shane and Gabriel, let's not put China on a pedestal here. And at the same time, let's not scare off people saying, "Oh, the Chinese own everything in Bitcoin." There's a proper balance with China here. You have to be knowledgeable on it, and it really is psychological. China plays, I think, a tremendous psychological role, larger than it should play. So we have to tone people's opinions down of China, its importance, but still. It can be a positive, and it is important to a certain degree. It isn't something that people should be insanely panicking about, though. When the People's Bank of China says like one word. So I will link to a very interesting article below that kind of talks about that, and it brings up some points. China's trade volume is misleading. China's dominance in Bitcoin mining does not translate to control. In terms of nation states, doesn't work when it comes to Bitcoin. This is legacy thinking. And the article is very interesting. Now, something that I've noticed with this entire, when we've had these large crashes, and to say that it's like 100% Chinese traders, then the Chinese traders on their exchanges, it's mostly just Bitcoin, and there's some Litecoin, then there's some Ethereum. But if you've noticed, when these Bitcoin crashes have happened, and then when Bitcoin bounces back up, the top 20, 30, 40 altcoins all perform in a similar manner during these panics and these resurgences. So it's not the money on these exchanges. Obviously, if people are pulling their money, what I'm trying to say is it's clear there's other nationalities involved in it. There's other speculators involved in this that are just playing off of the insane ups and downs of Bitcoin. It's not Chinese guys on their exchanges saying, oh, now it's time to buy Monero, or now it's time to buy Dash. Or now it's time to sell these. It's not translating into that at all, because they don't have these on their exchanges. So it's very interesting that there are wild swings in these other altcoins too when this happens, which leads me to believe it's just the North American English-speaking Western world influence on Bitcoin is, I'd say, really the largest influence, okay? The language of Bitcoin is English, basically. You go to a conference, everyone's speaking English. All the major players that you hear on the internet speak English. They might be European, they might be Canadian or from the United States. I travel around the entire world, and they look to the Americans. They look to what's going on in the United States. Still, China is important, and obviously, and it's not a negative to Chinese. We want this to be a global thing. All right, so Andy Hoffman has a new audio blog, I believe it is. And at the 13-minute mark, he starts talking about Bitcoin. I will link to it below. Andy Hoffman, Miles Franklin. People are still loving the video I did with him. You guys should check that out. It was just a pleasure. Okay, so speaking about developing countries that I kind of referenced before, Bitcoin, something to think about is how Bitcoin there in a country like Zimbabwe, for instance, is now you go to their exchange, and I will link to it, bitcoinfundy.com. What's up, guys? It's still around $1,000 last time I checked. People value it more there. If you happen to travel to Zimbabwe and you find someone who wants Bitcoin, you'll notice they really want Bitcoin. You'll be able to get lodging. You'll be able to get anything for a much better deal than you would with dollars. Not that I say to spend your Bitcoin anywhere, but what you might want to do is, before you go to one of these countries, change some of your fiat into Bitcoin and see what kind of deals you can get there. I mean, if you're a true investor and if you want land or you want cattle or something, then use Bitcoin when you travel to these places. Now, something that you can also do that's super risky when you're in these countries that I do not advise doing is that you can sell your Bitcoin if you're in Zimbabwe, you can get $1,000 cash for it. Or maybe a better example is in Mozambique. You can get $1,000 in meticals for it, most likely. Now, the problem arises when you leave these countries. They ask you all sorts of questions about what you're taking out. I mean, Zimbabwe specifically, they would ask me, how much money do you have on you? How much cash? It was in Zimbabwe, they use the US dollar there. So this is an uncomfortable situation, and there are limits on how much cash you can take out of Zimbabwe. And even if you're below the limits and they search you for some weird reason, you're going to have to deal with these bad people. And that's just one of the great things about Bitcoin over cash, that you can have your Bitcoin with you. They'll never know. They'll never know. I mean, in Zimbabwe, they make you take your shoes off, put it through the metal detector, just like they do in America. They're doing it just to be jerks. There's no real reason to do it. They're probably doing it because the Americans do it, and they just want to give their civil servants something to do there. All right, I've rambled on about civil servants too much. Okay, so Vinny Lingham had an interesting tweet out. There are too many independent companies in the Bitcoin sector. If a major strategic buyer acquires just one, it will trigger consolidation. I'll link to that. That's thought-provoking. I don't know. I haven't thought that much about it, but I thought people would like to think on it. He's talking about exchanges, I guess. Maybe one day there will be giant one giant exchange in the United States. Just like in the old days, there was Lyco, there were so many search engines, and now there's just Google. Who knows? It doesn't really matter. Tone Bays, he's got his latest out. I'll link to it. And in the Tone, he he can be kind of a doubter in some people's minds because he'll be like, oh, if it goes down below 760, it's a buying opportunity. I'll be happy. I'll be happy. And that's true. I believe him. I'd rather see it go up than go down. I admit it. Okay. And the reason is because people when things go higher, more people are going to learn about it. More people are going to be happy about it. And it's just a better feeling. It's just a better feeling. I'm a human being. But also at the same time, Toad he says he's going to buy at 760, then he doesn't buy at 760 because he doesn't use Coinbase. It's very hard for him to buy because he only believes in buying it from the street. So you got to keep that in mind too. When Tone is talking, he's coming from a very interesting perspective there. So again, in the long run, it really doesn't matter if the price drops or not. And that he knows that. He knows that if the price is, he's going for the long term. He's thinking 2020 and beyond. And I'm going to have a new video that's just about 2020. This is going to be a bigger and bigger theme as we get closer to 2020 because the halving is in 2020, July 1st, 2020. It's never too early to think about it. It really is never too early to think about it because it keeps you from panic selling, and it keeps so many different things in perspective. And it's like a dream. It's like, what price can you dream of for then? Can you dream of a $10,000 price then? How would your life be all of a sudden when Elizabeth Warren or Cory Booker is running against Donald Trump? How silly that will be compared to your life, right? You'll be like, you losers, who cares about the president? I'm already basically like that. All right, Casey Research has an article out. I'm on Doug Casey's Casey Research email list. They send out way too many emails. They use Doug Casey's name, so I guess I can say it's Doug Casey that says these things. I know he's not the one who's really saying these things, but he does put his name behind this. And I will quote, and I will link to this so you guys can say what you want to say. That said, we still think Bitcoin is a step in the right direction. After all, anything is better than money controlled by reckless and increasingly desperate governments. But Bitcoin and other digital currencies like it have a long way to go before we're ready to call them money. Gold, on the other hand, is a proven form of money. It always has to go back to that line, doesn't it? So you get all excited, like, oh, Doug Casey's into Bitcoin, or Casey versus, and then it always goes back to the gold line. Well, anyway, I still think it's a positive that he's sending it out in his newsletters, using out the, and this is a free newsletter, obviously. I wouldn't pay a penny. I'm sorry, I wouldn't pay for Doug Casey stuff. I don't pay for stuff like that that's on the internet. I encourage all of you to get my stuff for free and put it out there. Try to make money off my stuff. Be a freeloader off me. I think it's great because I do the same to whoever out there. I just try to get their free information, whatever. Anyway, so there's nothing wrong with getting free stuff when it's out there for you. Nothing. Just like yesterday, we were talking with Ryan. If there's free stuff out there, go get it. Go get it, man. So good. We'll see how the Casey Research furthers their opinion on Bitcoin as the year progresses. I'm willing to say that even by the end of this year, they'll probably be still saying Bitcoin's okay, but gold is the greatest thing ever. And not that gold is a bad thing, but it's just the old school mentality that it's kind of laughable at this point with some of these guys. I will link to an article about the MMM scam that talks about Bitcoin again. I have spoken about the MMM scam and how it has really soured some people toward Bitcoin in developing nations in Africa, and how we have to work to remind everyone, don't get involved in MMM scams. If they mention Bitcoin, which they do, ignore that. Bitcoin is a positive. It should not be associated with these bad negatives. So anyway, I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Remember to subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video. I post a new video here every day. Maybe there'll be 2 today. You never know. I hope you enjoyed this. This is Today in Bitcoin. Thanks a lot.